It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons.
The U.S. strikes Syria after a chemical attack in a rebel-held province kills dozens. Hello, I'm Arlen Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. The U.S. airstrikes against a military base in Syria marked the first show of force by American forces against the Syrian government since the civil war began. For more on the situation in Syria, CGTN's Alaa Ebrahim joins us now from Damascus. And Alaa, the U.S. launched those airstrikes early on Friday against the government. How is that action being seen across Syria?
Well, the positions of people vary according to their political positions. The supporters of the Syrian government have denounced the airstrike and have seen it as a factor of destabilization for the whole situation across the country, while people who oppose the government of President Bashar al-Assad thought of it as a positive move that aims at actually providing rebels with some kind of assistance that will enable them to achieve more gains on the ground. But the vast majority of Syrians that I have been speaking with throughout the last week are genuinely concerned with the fact that this could lead to further escalation. The situation in Syria is already extremely difficult living conditions, extremely difficult to provide for your family, and extremely difficult to get by under the constant violence. And the airstrike or the missile strike is viewed by the majority of the Syrians as an additional factor that will only increase the tension across the country. That being said, we should mention also that aside from all these factors, the missile strikes stand to have an effect on the ongoing conflict inside the country if the United States administrations decide to continue with missile strikes. For example, this missile strike, for example, took place against a Shayrat base in central Syria. It's a base which plays a critical role in the campaign against ISIL. But if, for example, the missile strike were to take place against other air bases, then rebels could benefit from this and try to make gains in the wake of such a future missile strike.
Right, as you pointed out, pro-government parties have criticized the attack. The Syrian government quickly denounced the attack, and the response from the international community has been mixed. If these attacks continue, and the United States has warned that they could continue, how will Syria respond?
All the Syrian officials I spoke with during the past week did not show any hint of desire to further escalate the situation. The Syrian government understands that this is a very delicate situation, and they don't wish actually to get in a feud or in a battle with the United States of America. But at the same time, they have been targeted with missiles from the United States of America. So for the first day after the missile strikes, they made some very strong statements, no threats, but just statements about what happened, calling the act a foolish act, and later on resorted to full silence as they refused to comment or say anything that would be interpreted as a means of escalation. But we have also to bear in mind that the Syrian conflict is not just a Syrian one. You have regional involvement from countries that support the government like Iran and the Lebanese Hezbollah, and you have also international players like Russia that supports also the government, and you have supporters of the rebels. Supporters of the rebels like Saudi Arabia, like Jordan, like Israel, for example, have all voiced content with the missile strike. And some of them have actually, there are reports here in Damascus that there are preparations underway from the Jordanian borders with Syria for a large-scale military offensive spearheaded by the rebels that would be assisted by US troops in order to create some kind of safe zone in southern Syria. But these are just reports so far. And on the other part, you have countries that support the Syrian government, Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia, who all said that they will be further helping the Syrian government, further helping the Syrian army in its battle against the rebels and radical groups inside the country. And they vowed actually to renovate Syria's aerial defense systems in the face of future missile attacks. So the situation is at a very critical point right now. It could escalate and become something of a regional and maybe international conflict, and it could be diffused, and it remains the status quo that it was before the missile strike that took place early on Friday.
Okay, thanks, Alaa. That's CGTN's Alaa Ebrahim